Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another week's episode of Mountain Meets Outdoors. I am your Garrett Sylvester. And we got the lovable Emily behind the camera today, and she will be helping me hands-on. But today we have something pretty cool that I think you guys will like. We are going to be making a plaster wall mount for a good friend of mine. Actually, his grandfather. These were his horns. He gave them to me a while back, and I told him that I was going to work on them, and just got super busy. And so today I actually wanted to make a point to get it done for him, and because I know it means a lot to him. The only problem is we have this train wreck. Yeah, the skull cap broke, which in taxidermy, that's probably one of the worst things you're going to have happen. But the good news is it is fixable, and that's what we're going to do today. And I'm going to kind of walk through the steps on how I do it. Now, I'm not a professional, but I have done these before, and I am an avid taxidermist, but I'm not the greatest. But today's video, we're going to need plaster of Paris, we're going to need a cutout, we're going to need horns, a plaque, which I'm actually going to use the actual plaque that this deer horns were on before it broke. We're going to need felt. I got a couple different colors, but I think I'm going to stick with black this one. And then we're going to need a staple gun and a hot glue gun. Now the actual funny thing about it is that whenever he brought me these horns, man, they were broken and it was all old and felt. And I mean, the person who did this probably drilled about 7 or 8 holes in there, which I don't understand why. But a different thing that I saw, and the cool thing is that the skull cap was drilled into the piece of into the plaque, and it was stuffed with cotton. And I've never really seen that. Maybe that was an old school thing because these horns are pretty old. But if y'all know why, or y'all know people that do it like that, just let me know in the comments, and I'd like to look into that because it was definitely different. Like, it was your true technique of stuffing, I guess. Yeah, so I got them and they were broken, and so we're gonna play with them and see if we can't get them looking good like they were before they broke. Stay tuned. All right, so we have our cutout. I cut this out on my dad's scroll saw the other day, and we took his belt sander and kind of cleaned up all the rough edges. Now this is what the horns would originally go on and be screwed to. But since our situation, I took these 2 little pieces of wood, and we're going to use this as a reinforced backing once we drill in these horns. The only question is that we can't be so rough with these horns, because if we drill it too hard one way or the other, it's going to come out crooked or possibly even break. But if you look closely, you can see that perfect middle screw hole. And amongst all of the other wreckage and broken off stuff, you can see that it fits perfectly. So we know how to line it up. Now we're just going to have to drill it and take it easy so that way it stays together. Alright, after that big headache, we finally were able to get the skull cap screwed onto the plaque, and it seems to be pretty sturdy, so now we're ready to put the plaster on. So we made sure that our horns were completely clean before applying the plaster, because if the horns or if any of the skull cap or this wooden piece is dirty, the plaster will not hold correctly. And so we have our mixture made, and they always say you really want it a little bit more watery, so that way it gives you more time to play with it and kind of get it the way you want it. So Em, if you'd come hold these horns just like that, since you got cleaner hands. Alright, so we got the plaster process done for the most part. It was really messy. As you can see, we have it pretty close to the way we want it. We got kind of the shape. I'm going to let it sit overnight and dry, and then we'll come back with some sandpaper and maybe shape it and all that. Alright, so it's the next day and we're back at it. Probably let it sit for less than a full day, but I came and checked it and it's pretty hard, so I think we're good to go. We basically got the shape that we want. We just got a little rough edges and some clumps in the back. That's not going to be a problem, because I'm going to take this and kind of knock some of these big pieces off, and then I'm going to take some of this heavier grit sandpaper and kind of smoothing it all out, so that way when we lay our felt on, it'll be perfect. But the good thing about this is, especially with the color black, it makes it a little bit easier for some of the problems to kind of, you won't really see them, and you don't really have to get your plaster completely perfect, but just at least get it somewhat the shape that you want and you'll be alright. Let's see if we can knock some of this stuff off. Bigger stuff. Just so that way it'll screw good on the back. The good thing about this too is that the horns feel a lot more secure now that this plaster has sit in overnight. So hopefully once we drill it on, it'll make it stronger and it won't come apart. That's the worst thing that could happen, but for the most part, most of the hard work's out of the way, and now we're just going to do some small stuff. Take this sandpaper and kind of smoothing it down on the top. See how it's coming off on there. Now we probably could have done this when it was a lot more damp, and we could have played with it a lot more, but I just kind of got it to the shape that I wanted it and just kind of let it do its thing. That way I didn't really mess with it too much, because with these horns they weren't really tight, so I just kind of wanted to take it easy and not really do too much work on it. But yeah, you can see. Alright, so we just finished sanding it, and we got it pretty smooth. I mean, it's got a real pretty shape. So now we're about to put our felt on, and I measured it. We barely just have enough, but I think this should work. We're going to start from the bottom and then pull up. I feel like that'll be a lot easier. So Em, if I could use your assistance here, I need you to help. Staple that. It's all about pulling it tight. Staple right there. We're going to staple the back and then pull in the open area right there. There you go. Do another one right here. Pull it tight though.
I know. Hold the horns though.
There you go. There. Perfect. Alright, so we're slowly getting it conformed to the plaster, and it's really tight. It's all about stretching and pulling it and working it the way you want to get it to really fit right. We're almost there. Now we just got to get past these horns, but we'll have to cut scissors, leave a little extra, and then super glue underneath the bases. So our deer horn's all tight, put together. It's not perfect, I'll admit, but we got a job done. Now we just need to snip off our back, and then we'll be ready to drill it to the plaque. But for the most part, it worked out. I mean, these you kind of can do differently. You just got to pull and tug and kind of get the felt to kind of be in the place where you want it. I also know spandex is a lot easier too, so we might try that on the next one that we do. All right, let's get to cut and get this thing put together. Just gonna snip here, here, all this excess stuff, just so that way we have it clean. Just go to the staples, don't cut past the staples. Alrighty, so we're all through. Got the back cut, and it's ready to go on the plaque now. We may add some twine a little bit later just to add for some extra touch, but for the most part, everything looks great. So now we're just gonna get it screwed together, and it should be good. Alrighty guys, that wraps it up for this week's video. I hope y'all really enjoyed it. I know I did. We had some good couples therapy. If you have anything cool that you want me to mount, send it to me. Let me know. Let me know in the comments what y'all think about this. This isn't typically something that I do. I know down and around South Texas we do a lot of skull mounts, and plaster mounts kind of were backdated, but I really enjoy doing them, and I know they're really popular in the Midwest. So let me know if y'all want me to do one or want me to do any other kind of mount. With this 4th of July coming up, I want y'all to be safe, have fun, and God bless. Tell your friends, tell your family about us, and like and subscribe.
Happy 4th.
See y'all later, guys.